On Wednesday, September 4th, Mars enters Cancer. The planet of war will stay in the sign of its fall until November 3rd, challenging us to get comfortable with the land of emotion and learn to express our frustrations with sensitivity and kindness. Let's dive in and break it down for all 12 signs. My name is Anastasia. I'm a traditional Western astrologer specializing in natal, relationship, and predictive readings. Thank you for being here. If you enjoy my work, please take a few seconds to show your support by leaving a like or a comment, subscribing, and pressing the notification bell. Watch another one of my videos or say thank you by buying me a coffee. I really appreciate all of you who take advantage of these options, and any kind of support you offer me really helps and sort of boosts my desire to create more content and helps me bring it your way, because this is my full-time job. That's the only thing I do. So before we dive into talking about Mars and Mars's upcoming retrograde in Cancer, we're going to do a quick preview. I'd like to mention a couple of things. First thing is, if you're looking for a personal reading, you have questions that you're struggling to figure out on your own, you need help and guidance, book a reading on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have, guide you through your natal chart, help you understand the year coming up, the eclipse season, your relationship, and more. Additionally, on my website, you can find a variety of products I create. My 2025 planner, the follow-up to the 2024 planner, is almost ready to go. Chances are pretty high that it's gonna go on sale in early September. I kind of had to deal with some of the Mercury retrograde glitches in the production, and now that they're being fixed, it should be done really soon. Additionally, on my website, you can find a variety of candles and oils I create. I like to look at astrology as a map we can use, as a tool, a set of tools and guides that can help us make our life easier. And so when I know that there's a positive transit coming up, I carefully select the time, I place the planet very prominently, and I make sure it's highlighted by the sign and the angle, and basically create a product, right? Create sort of an embodied version of that planet. So in this video, I'd like to highlight my Mars Kazemi candle. This one captures Mars in the sign of rulership, Scorpio, conjunct the sun. Mars in Scorpio is very determined, very patient, very strategic. It's sort of like ninja type energy. If you have Mars in Scorpio, or people in your life have it, you know that they carefully devise a plan and then sort of strike at the most opportune time. So this can help you find courage, discipline, and passion in your life, and also navigate the more difficult energy of Mars in the sign of its fall. Highly recommend it to anyone born with their Mars in Cancer, Taurus, or Libra, the signs of fall and detriment. If your Mars is in the 8th or 12th houses, the energy can be a little bit more. If you're born with Mars in the 8th, you're maybe taking risks that don't always pay off. And in the 12th, you might be more sort of self-destructive or tough on yourself. If your Mars is conjunct, square, or opposite Saturn, Neptune, or Pluto, this is my choice for you. Exalted Mars is another great option, and they look very similarly. They're both red and have garnet stones decorating them. So thank you for listening. Let's talk about Mars in Cancer. Mars will be in Cancer for the total time of 6 months. But this is the first entrance. There will be another one during the retrograde. So it's an interesting sort of storyline. Mars enters Cancer on September 4th, leaves on November 3rd, spends a couple of months in Leo, right, from November 3rd until January 6th. Halfway through, it stations retrograde and then slowly moves back from Leo into Cancer. So comes back to Cancer again on January 6th and stays until April 18th. So the total duration of stay is about 6 months. If you count in the Leo, it's about 8 months. But, Cancer is 6. So Mars is the planet of action. Mars is the warrior within us, the fighter, the very independent, passionate energy that calls us to take action, to attack and defend, to protect things that we care for, and to go for things we desire, right? Venus oftentimes represents things we desire, and Mars represents how we go after those desires. So whenever Mars is placed in the sign other than its own, other than Mars in Scorpio, right, or Mars in Aries, it has to behave play by the rules of that sign. So you put Mars in Cancer, and Mars has to operate in this sensitive domain of the moon. Cancer is the moon-ruled sign, and so you will see when I talk about the qualities of Mars and Cancer, both sort of the strengths and challenges coming from that pairing, right? So the moon is classically very changeable, right? The moon moves the fastest of all the other planets. It changes signs really fast. It waxes, wanes, it changes shapes, right? And so Cancer is classically sort of energetically like fluid, right? And it's not consistent energetically. So one of the challenges of Mars being in Cancer for the next 6 months total is that our energy is likely to go up and down, right? We're likely to experience a little bit more like highs and lows energetically. And of course, the advice here is try to listen to your body. If you're full of energy, strike, go for it. If you are tired and you feel low and you need to sleep and you're able to do that, definitely take a nap. Cancer is a cardinal sign, and it's an emotionally driven sign. So cardinal signs are Cancer, Aries, Libra, and Capricorn, and they're focused on initiating things. So we're still, with this energy, we're likely to go after things that we are emotionally attracted to or emotionally attached to, right? Like becoming a parent, if that is something you desire, becoming the best swimmer, representing your country, representing your government, sort of speaking on behalf. That's where Mars and Cancer shines, right? Like Mars needs to fight, and Cancer is vulnerability. So if it's taken the wrong way, you can end up fighting with vulnerable people, right? Like Mars and Cancer is classically sort of this werewolf energy, right? You don't fight because you don't want to, because you're surrounded by babies or you're surrounded by elders, or you just don't want to fight, right? And so you suppress, and then the full moon hits and the energy just like bursts out in the open, and you end up hurting people closest to you. So this is where the challenge lies. Another challenge, right? Watch out for being passive aggressive. Watch out for pretending like everything is fine when you don't feel like everything is fine. It might be better for you to actually express frustration and express your feelings. But the positive lies, like I was about to say, the positives definitely lie in your ability to fight for things that you're passionate about and to fight for vulnerable people. So if the challenge is like fighting with vulnerable people, the gift, and that's where you can take control of this energy, lies in fighting for vulnerable people. So many people born with Mars and Cancer, and if this is you, please share, but so many people born with Mars and Cancer are social workers or doctors or healers or nurses. So like you have to express the Mars, right? Like you have to fight for things. And so I also know someone with this placement who's a firefighter, and their Venus is in Aries, Mars and Cancer. So it's like fire, Venus with water, Mars, and they fight fire with water. It's like always going to be my perfect example. So, you know, Mars and Cancer is a mama bear. It's very much about protecting its cubs and protecting those who don't have their voice. So you may notice over the course of the next 6 months, right? 8 months, if we count all the way from the beginning to the end, women's rights becoming more of a topic. Children, elderly, our planet, you know, advocating for the sort of important things, advocating for our home, because Cancer is the sign of the home. So you may also notice that your emotions are a little like that, just like feeling a little bit more moody, right? Besides just energetic ups and downs. You may desire to take action in the home, like improve your home, fix something in your home. traveling towards water, swimming more, sort of taking kind of like athletic, expressing yourself athletically in the watery domain of Cancer. Michael Phelps has Mars in Cancer, and so he's like very much successful in expressing his Mars in Cancer. So be ready for a pretty long period of dealing with sort of like emotional passions, and on the positive, channeling those passions in your favorite pursuits, your favorite sports, working on your home, improving your home, connecting with family, protecting the vulnerable, speaking on behalf of the vulnerable. But watch out for being passive aggressive, for suppressing anger until it blows up, for pushing yourself too hard, and maybe not expressing things when they come up. And Mars goes retrograde. We're going to talk about each rising sign. We're going to break down the retrograde, or sort of give you hints on what the retrograde might be about. So before we dive in, as always, if you're looking for personal guidance, you'd like me to look at your chart and answer your questions, book a reading on my website, AnastasiaDoesAstrology.com. Also, once again, highly recommend my Mars Kazemi candle. You can find it on the website as well, because this one will help you navigate some of those ups and downs and tensions and stresses, and so even conflicts, because Mars in Scorpio very much knows when to fight and when not to fight. So let's start with Aries rising. Mars is entering your 4th house for the next 8 months, 6 months, right? But like the first round is from September 4th until November 3rd. And so Mars in the 4th house suggests a certain element of action and possibly friction in the home, with your family, in the matters involving living situation. So this first chunk is direct, right? This first chunk is like, we are going for it. So Mars entering your 4th house might suggest you're moving, you're taking on home improvement projects, you are connecting with family, you're helping family, you're just like very kind of active with family or within your home. You may argue with the family more, but once again, the danger is like that sort of kind of tendency to suppress things and not express them until it's too late. So watch out for being passive aggressive and listen to your energy levels. This is your chart ruler, so it's extra important for you. And as your chart ruler travels through your 4th house, it might also bring up some of the maybe like tendency to be too kind of complacent or forgiving. It might encourage you to speak up and maybe assert yourself with the family members. And then when the retrograde comes, I think it's sort of a continuation of that theme. The retrograde will take over Mars will travel through your 5th and 4th houses. And so maybe you will ask yourself, does my home make me feel at ease? Do my relationships with family make me feel happy? What needs to change? What needs to be transformed? Maybe you will consider moving. You may also notice that some of the projects you have started in September and October might slow down, and maybe once again you will be asking yourself whether they're worth pursuing and which ones of them feel most cozy and comfortable for you, as Cancer is your 4th house. If you're looking for additional help, pick up my Mars Kazemi candle. This is a perfect accompaniment for the retrograde period. And if you have questions about your natal chart, book a reading at AnastasiaDoesAstrology.com. I do natal, relationship, and predictive readings, and there are a couple of durations you can find on there as well. For the beautiful Taurus rising, Mars is entering your 3rd house. And here it energizes you to connect with siblings, to take short trips, to speak about things that are important, maybe speak about children or vulnerable people or the planet, or like even, animals, whatever it might be. Mars in the 3rd house will give you the drive to communicate openly and honestly and directly, right? And so it's in a way of like a blessing, I think it can give you energy to pursue your skills, to take care of your business, to connect with siblings, to attack things on your schedule. But on the negative, watch out for being passive aggressive, especially if there are any challenges with siblings or your classmates or your neighbors. You might try to suppress it and not address something, or play like everything is fine, but then in reality it might frustrate you. Be careful driving too fast. Listen to your energy levels, because they're likely to be a little bit up and downy. And then when Mars goes retrograde later in the year, between December 6th and February 23rd, it will travel from your 4th into the 3rd. And I think you may need to address, like, let's say you did suppress some frustration and you didn't deal with some kind of conflict and you played it cool. The retrograde period might bring it back and might encourage you to have some of the old conversations, things that maybe, like, you know, like anything with siblings or family, or even like scheduling issues that don't quite work, you will have to address, right? Like Mars retrograde may potentially suggest a slowdown in your projects, but for the sake of creating better balance, like you may need to let go of some projects and rethink how you spend your time and rethink what you say and how you deal with siblings, all for the sake of creating more peace and harmony in your life. If you're looking for support, pick up my Mars Kazemi candle at anastasiadasastrology.com. This is a lot more consistent, strategic, ninja, persevering type energy. Mars in Cancer can wax and wane just like the moon. And if you have personal questions you'd like me to answer, book a reading at anastasiadasastrology.com. I'd be happy to talk you through your chart, talk about your compatibility, your year coming up, the eclipse season, and more. For the lovely Gemini rising, Mars is entering your 2nd house. So here you are feeling energized and driven to make money, because 2nd house is money. It's also values, but if we're talking about finances, you're more competitive, you're more focused on starting things that are emotionally important to you, because Cancer is the sign of feelings. You're maybe spending a little bit more impulsively. You're maybe spending on your family, which is quite likely here. In terms of values, Mars in Cancer in the 2nd house might encourage you to evaluate things. It might also encourage you to pursue things, once again, that are more important, that are more connected to who you are within, and maybe invest in some kind of growth. Like you're not just spending money or making money. Well, you're not just making money, but you're also potentially spending money on yourself and things that are valuable to you. When Mars later goes retrograde between December 6th and February 23rd, you may potentially have to review your finances. That's why the advice is always do not rush to spend the money you make right now, because when Mars is going retrograde, some of the money that came to you during the direct phase might leave you. So just beware and use this period to come up with some kind of like solid strategies about spendings. You may also notice, like, if you have started some kind of project, a business, a YouTube channel, like a passion project type thing, when Mars is retrograde, you are required for one reason or another to take a step back and to reconsider your branding, your strategy, your warehouse and products you're using. So there might be, especially because Mars will be moving from your 3rd house of like logistics, skills, hobbies, business into the 2nd house. So some important questions will definitely come up during that period. And conflicts, like conflicts around money, might be coming up as well. And some of the challenges of Mars in Cancer is that its energy levels are not consistent. So you may notice that you're a lot more moody possibly, and then some days you're up energetically, other days you're down. Watch out for being a bit passive aggressive. If you feel like somebody owes you money and they haven't paid you back, it would be best to speak up when you are thinking about it and kind of like still feeling calm, versus when a bunch of time has passed and you are already aggressive and irritated. If you're looking for support and you need help dealing with this transit, pick up my Mars Kazemi candle. This one will activate your sixth house of work, health, and service, giving you the energy, the courage, the passion, the persevering, motivating type energy that is necessary to take action, exercise, complete any goals. You can find this on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. On there, you can also book a personal consultation to talk to me about this, any other transits, the eclipse season, discuss the year coming up, your natal chart, or your relationship. AnastasiaDoesAstrology.com. If you are the lovely Cancer rising, Mars is entering your first house. And so, good and bad, Mars is in its fall, right? That's why I very much recommend my Mars Kazemi candle, because it has a lot more strategic, focused, full of energy vibe to it, versus Mars in Cancer might suggest that you are... So, like, the positives, right? The positives are you are feeling more energetic. Some days, not all days, because Mars in Cancer has that inconsistent energy levels because it's ruled by the moon, and so it waxes, it wanes energetically. So pay attention to when you're feeling sleepy and tired, try to take a break. And if you're feeling full of energy, like when the moon is full, when your personal cup is full, take action, right? So on the positive, when you are full of energy, you're more likely to accomplish a lot. You're maybe more driven to exercise at this time, especially if it's like swimming or maybe even doing something with your family, so you have more desire. You are likely to be more focused on self-expression, right? Sort of taking on personal projects, pursuing your interests, exploring your interests, trying to understand yourself. On the negative, because Mars is in your first house, you may notice that you're extra busy, that there's just so many things going on, so many things on your plate. You may notice that other people are maybe being a little bit combative or passive aggressive with you. Try not to pay them back in the same coin. Avoid being passive aggressive too. And try to resolve things as they come up. Later in the year, when Mars goes retrograde, you will need to rethink some of the progress you have made in the next 2 months, especially if we're talking about your health, your exercise routine, your personal projects. Something may need to be reconsidered. Let's say you started swimming and then later in the year it's cold and you can't anymore, so you need to find a pool that you like, an indoor pool. Mars will be later in the year, between December 6th and February 23rd. It will be retrograding from your second into the first house. So I think some of the matters you'll be rethinking are likely to involve money, whether you have enough to be the best version of yourself, where you can get the money you need, how can you set yourself up for success and greatness. What do you need to invest into, right? Like, what do you need to sort of set aside in order to be more happy? And maybe also asking yourself, how does your current job and your current situation in life reflect your values? And if it doesn't, it might be your opportunity to make changes. Check out my website, AnastasiaDoesAstrology.com, to pick up the Mars Kazemi candle, really perfect for combating Mars in its fall. And you can also book a reading on there to talk to me about your natal chart, your year coming up, the eclipse season, and more. If you are the lovely Leo rising, Mars is entering your 12th house and will be there on and off for the next 8 months. So Mars in the 12th house could suggest that you are taking a step back. You're maybe traveling, very literally. You might be getting away. Mars in Cancer is very emotionally driven, so some of the trips might be inspired by how you feel and what you're sort of desiring in the moment. So watch out for a bit more impulsive, maybe decisions that are costing you too much and not worth it. But it's a great time to get away. It is a great time to dive into spiritual practices, even for the sake of sort of creating balance and peace in your life. Yoga, meditation, nature walks, swimming. You prefer being alone at this period, working alone. It might be alone, but still close to family because it's Mars in Cancer. And you may struggle with sleep, especially if there is any frustration and energy you're not expressing. On the negative, it is Mars in the sign of its fall, so you may notice that you are perhaps being a little bit more passive aggressive. Maybe your energies goes through ups and downs. Maybe you're suppressing your feelings and then they blow up. You may also notice any kind of like tendency to blame yourself and be hard on yourself might be present at this time. So I think when Mars goes retrograde from December 6th until February 23rd, and the retrograde starts in your first house, goes into the 12th house, you will get a chance to look at your habits and patterns seriously and perhaps knock some of them down. Like really be honest about the habits you have that are holding you back, that are destructive. And then maybe it will also offer you a chance to integrate some of your passions and interests and hobbies that are hiding, that you're not fully sort of willing to admit to the world. Like you really love yoga, or you really love astrology, and now you're going to become a yoga teacher or an astrologer. And so you may need the next 8 months to figure it out. If you're looking for support, pick up my Exalted Mars candle. It highlights your 6th house of work, health, and service. It is very strategic. It is Mars in Capricorn, and it can help you deal with these energetic ups and downs, tendency to be passive aggressive, and perhaps a bit more frustrating energy of Mars in Cancer. You can find it at anastasia.astrology.com. On there, you can also book a reading to discuss your natal chart, your year coming up, your relationship, or anything else. If you are the lovely Virgo rising, Mars is entering your 11th house for what will feel like a very, very long time. It's not gonna leave. It's gonna leave for good in April 2025. So about 8 months, 6 total if you don't count the time spent in Leo. So Mars in the 11th house is the time you are driven to start new projects with your friends. Your friends are like family, so you're maybe discussing starting a blog, writing a book with your friends. Maybe you're exploring social causes, charity organizations, you're seeking to volunteer, you're feeling enthusiastic about helping the world, right? And you can actually accomplish a lot. You're more likely to, especially if you have that sense of purpose, and if you're working on something that protects women, children, elderly, or any kind of otherwise vulnerable group of people. The challenge, of course, lies in the fact that Mars is in its fall in Cancer. So at times you may be full of energy and ready to take on the world. At other times you may be more driven to take a nap. So try to listen to that energy, go with surf the waves instead of, trying to swim against them. You may notice a tendency to be a little bit passive aggressive and sweep any issues and frustrations under the rug, but then of course you can't do it for too long because eventually it will backfire and burn you and people around you. So be careful fighting with friends, and maybe try to express your feelings about any project you're involved in very honestly and directly, and sort of more in the moment when you have a level head. Because chances are, you're working with a group of people at this point of time, and you may have different approaches to situations. And instead of feeling like you completely disagree with someone, but you're gonna go along anyways, I'd recommend that you express it, try to find a way to compromise, but don't just put yourself second if you feel like you have a strong feeling about the right approach. Mars will be retrograde later in the year from December 6th until February 23rd, moving from your 12th into the 11th, suggesting that you are having to examine, maybe address some of those fights or redo some of the work that you have done, especially if we're talking about a group project, a sort of charity organization, some kind of altruistic mission you were on. You may have to revisit some of the fights with your friends. maybe also examine your self-defeating, your self-sabotaging tendencies as Mars travels from like Leo into Cancer. Like, you know, it's one thing to deal with a fight with a friend. It's a whole other thing to look and be like, maybe the fight was inspired by the fact that you were told not to speak up as a kid, or people will not like you. And so it's not just like a retrograde that makes you revisit your friendships and group projects, but it also makes you question how, you know, how you're doing things that are maybe don't serve you. If you're looking for additional support, pick up a candle. Mars Cazimi is really great for this transit because it's Mars in a water sign, in the sign of rulership, very passionate, powerful, determined, courageous. Find this on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. You can also book a reading on there and have me look at your natal chart, talk about your year coming up, your relationship, and more. Now to the beautiful Libra rising. Mars is entering your 10th house. For the next 8 months, Mars will be in Cancer, in your 10th house, on and off. So this is a busy time professionally, most likely. It can also be connected to a change in status from, let's say, a busy like corporate world to working from home, or from like working to becoming a stay-at-home parent. But it is a busy time professionally. You are driven to start new things. Cancer is a cardinal sign. It's focused on initiating, but it goes from the heart, right? So it's very much like, what do you feel passionate about? What do you feel emotionally aligned with? You may notice opportunities to use your platform, use your job, use your connections to speak on behalf of people who don't get access to healthcare, or elderly, or women, or like women's rights, right? Like sort of promoting or talking about some of these important issues, because Cancer is all about vulnerable people and Mars likes to fight. So the danger might lie in like fighting with people at work, or being a little bit passive aggressive, because while Mars needs to fight, Cancer doesn't like to fight. So the tension that you're likely to deal with during this period lies in that inner tug of war of like, you know, I feel strongly about something, but maybe I can't quite express it. Your energy levels are likely to go through ups and downs. Some days you'll feel full of energy, ready to push. Other days you may feel very tired and drowsy, and that is just the sign of Mars being in Cancer. If you're born with this, please let me know, how do you handle the energetic ups and downs? And I highly recommend you get my Mars Cazimi candle as a way of working through this energy and kind of creating a bit more steady flow, because Mars Cazimi is Mars in Scorpio. It's powerful for your house of money, and it can bring good benefits in that area as well as professional area. Find this at anastasiadoesastrology.com. Additionally, when Mars goes retrograde between December 6th and February 23rd, it will travel from your 11th into the 10th, and I think you may need to examine whether your job reflects your dreams, whether people around you are supportive. You may be also sort of combing through your connections and asking who in your network can help you achieve what you're trying to achieve. But the retrograde period, not gonna lie, can definitely suggest some kind of roadblocks, frustrations, old battles, old projects that you've been working on coming back to haunt you. But also because they need to be resolved, right? Like maybe if you've made some professional choices between September and December, some of them didn't quite pan out, and you will need to reevaluate and reconsider. If you're looking for a personal consultation, you have questions you'd like me to answer, and you want to pick up a Mars Cazimi candle to help you navigate the retrograde phase of this transit, book a reading, pick up a candle on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. There is a variety of readings. There's plenty of different creations, something that I'm sure you will like and love and hold closely. Anyways, check out my website for that. For the lovely Scorpio rising, Mars is entering your 9th house. And Mars in the 9th house gives you the energy to grow, right? It can give you an energy to study, to travel, to write. In Cancer, right? Like writing about your childhood, your family, something really deeply personal. Studying about family, studying about parenthood. I know quite a couple of Scorpio risings who are pregnant right now. So like Mars entering Cancer might give you that desire to like pick up a book on parenting, or even like pick up a book on relationships and self-understanding. 9th house is a very philosophical place. It's a place of like religion, and Cancer likes to nurture. So perhaps you are looking for a supportive community, right? Or supportive philosophical, religious school of thought that can help you feel more at ease. 9th house also represents legal matters. So Mars in Cancer might suggest that you're dealing with those. Mars is in its fall in Cancer. That's why my advice is to get my Mars Kazemi candle. It captures Mars in Scorpio, perfect for Scorpio risings, conjunct the Sun, empowered, strategic, passionate, determined. Sort of even energy, right? Very kind of go, go, go energy. So that's why the negative of Mars in Cancer could be energetic ups and downs. It could also suggest that you are maybe navigating some frustrations, but you're suppressing the anger and letting it sort of, not expressing until it blows up, or being passive aggressive. So those are the more challenging possibilities. Also, maybe like getting involved in debates on like social media, or sort of ideological battles with some people that drain you and don't sort of serve you well. When Mars goes retrograde from December 6th until February 23rd, it will travel from your 10th house into the 9th. So here you're actually adding in the element of your career. So perhaps you are wondering, what do you need to study? What legal matters you need to handle? Like if you need a visa to get the job of your dreams, maybe it's time to do that. If you need to take an exam to keep your license up to date, maybe it's time to do that. If you need to go back to school or find a mentor, a teacher, the retrograde period will offer you opportunities to do that. It might also suggest that you're somehow looking back and moving to your old job, to old town, to some kind of like reviewing old projects and picking up old books to help you navigate the present situation. If you're looking for a personal consultation, you have important questions you'd like me to answer, or you want to pick up a Mars Kazemi candle, you can check out my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. I do relationship, predictive, relationship, natal chart readings, and more. If you are a Sagittarius rising, Mars is entering your 8th house. So on the positive, Mars in the 8th house could give you the boost to take action, to partner up with others, to pay off debts, to dig into something and like research things that are important to you, to get a mortgage or a loan, or to work hard on some kind of like accounting project if you are an accountant, or if you are a nurse or a doctor or someone who works with like emergencies, you might be finding yourself like dealing with those and navigating those. The challenge of Mars being in the sign of its fall might lie with energetic ups and downs. If you saw the beginning of this video, you heard me talk about that, but sort of, some days you're full of energy and drive and you're passionate and you're taking care of these like relationships with other people, projects, money matters, and then other days you're like beat and you need a nap. So try to listen to your energy levels. You may be dealing with some type of like scholarships, loans, mortgage payments, and maybe feeling frustrated by the way things are, especially if you feel like you're handling everything on your own and there's a lot on your shoulders. Let's say you're in a marriage and you are the one who's paying off the mortgage and your spouse is unemployed and doesn't seem to be looking for the job. So battles around money, around resources might come up. And of course, watch out for this tendency that Mars in Cancer might bring of suppressing frustration and not fighting until it just like you can no longer keep quiet and you sort of have to speak up. The retrograde phase begins on December 6th. So to give you a quick preview, it's going to last until February 23rd and will take Mars from your 9th into the 8th. So that definitely feels like a need to revisit some financial matters and agreements involving education, travel, scholarships, loans, visa fees. You're maybe like having to sort of revisit those type of topics. You may be questioning what is fair. You may be needing to talk about some important things, like things that we would normally not like to talk about in general as people. If somebody owes you money, if somebody's not treating you fairly, even if your mortgage rate is not something you're happy with, you may need to address those matters. And very much thinking of what is your belief about your self-worth and your relationships, and then applying that to the actual relationship. If you need some additional help, because this transit might be a bit of a difficult one, pick up my Mars Kazemi candle. It can help you go after your goals and projects in a pretty consistent way. Exalted Mars could be great too. You can find those on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com, and you can also book a reading on there to talk about your natal chart, your year coming up, your relationship, and anything else. If you are the lovely Capricorn rising, Mars is entering your 7th house, and so for the next 8 months, on and off, it's going to stay in your 7th house. And so this might present certain challenges, but there are also some positives, right? Cancer is loyal. It's nurturing, so with this transit, you're getting a boost to your desire to take care of your partner, to build a relationship, to invest, to sort of connect with your significant other, to commit, right? So there's a lot of desire. There is a potential for some tensions and conflicts because it is Mars. Mars in Cancer doesn't like fighting, so you might suppress your feelings until it's too late and they blow out and you get like a big fight with your partner. So I would warn you against suppressing. I would advise that you try to express yourself. 7th house is also the place of business, so you're maybe negotiating some contracts, signing contracts, negotiating agreements. And so you may feel maybe a little bit frustrated and upset about certain things. And so once again, the advice is like to speak up. And your energy might be up and down because that is what Mars in Cancer tends to be about. When Mars goes retrograde between December 6th and February 23rd, it moves from your 8th house into the 7th, encouraging you to perhaps revisit some of the relationship dynamics, to have some conversations about money, to renegotiate some contracts, to maybe reapply for loans and scholarships, and reassess how you deal with conflict and frustration, because that is a big kind of, retrograde theme, is like, how do you handle when things don't go your way? How do you handle when things aren't fair? And how can you be more direct and straightforward and more assertive when it comes to those matters? I highly recommend my Exalted Mars candle because this is Mars in Capricorn, the sign of your rising sign. It is beneficial for you and it can help you be more strategic, more dedicated, brings more level energy, more sort of regular energy levels, and can help you navigate the retrograde period. You can find this on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. On there, you can also find a variety of my readings. If you have personal questions, book a consultation at anastasiadoesastrology.com. If you are the beautiful Aquarius rising, Mars is entering your 6th house. And so on the positive, Mars in the 6th house gives you energy to tackle life problems. You're maybe more actively problem solving. The matters that you're problem solving might involve home, family, but also work and health. Maybe you're making doctor's appointments. Maybe you're handling a bunch of work projects. The danger here, because Mars is in the sign of its fall, is that your energy levels might be inconsistent. Sometimes you are up and able to take on the world. Other times, when you have a project due, you're more tired. So try to allow some extra time and don't push things until the deadlines. You're maybe feeling a little bit combative with your coworkers. You're maybe realizing where they are taking advantage of you or where they're not being grateful. And so instead of being passive aggressive, try to express things and don't let drama and tension build. If you're looking for additional help, I would recommend my Mars Kazemi or my Exalted Mars candle, because those capture strong Mars in rulership and exaltation, and it can definitely smooth out the energetic ups and downs and the frustrating passive aggressive energy, helping you assert yourself in a more consistent, focused, directed, determined way. But yeah, like watch out for conflicts, watch out for being passive aggressive, look for matters, sort of look for exercise routines that help you deal with stress, look for passion projects that help you, maybe that have a sense of that give you a sense of accomplishment and help you make a difference in the world. So when Mars retrogrades later on between December 6th and February 23rd, it's going to retrograde from your 7th house into the 6th, and it may suggest that you're doing some kind of review of your professional agreements, whether once again the question of things being fair or not might arise. You may also be reflecting on how good your relationship is at dealing with everyday mundane type matters, right? Like Mars moves from the 7th into the 6th, and you're asking, how can we be better at fighting? How can we be better at dealing with laundry and groceries? Is one of us taking more than the other? Is one of us is frustrated but trying to play it cool? So having to address some of these conversations both in your professional life and personal life is quite likely here. If you're looking for a personal consultation, you have questions only a one-on-one reading might answer, book one on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. We can talk about your relationship, your year coming up, your natal chart, and more. Now, if you are the lovely Pisces rising, Mars is entering your 5th house and will stay here on and off until mid-April. So Mars in the 5th house gives you a strong desire to enjoy life and strong desire to have fun, to make love, to make babies, and to just sort of express yourself through creative pursuits, to hang out with kids. You're feeling more inspired. However, Mars in Cancer is in its fall, so there will be days when you're more inspired. There will be days when you're just sleepy. So try to listen to those energies, or pick up my Mars Kazemi candle, because this is Mars in Scorpio, and it's a lot more consistent and focused than Mars in rulership, empowered for fighting and going after your goals. You're maybe feeling more sexual as well. You're maybe feeling more driven to date, and like I said, make babies or spend time with children. However, because Mars is in its fall, there might be a danger of getting irritated easily, being more moody, getting frustrated with your child or your significant other and trying to suppress the frustration until it blows up and you actually say something that you will later regret. This can also be, 5th house is the place of joy, and joy is very different for different people. So when Mars is in Cancer, and then later it retrogrades from December 6th until February 23rd, 2025, you're maybe just wondering, where is your pleasure, your creativity, and your joy? Where are they blocked? And what do you need to do to rediscover it? What do you need to do to rediscover passion? And because Mars will be retrograding from your 6th into the 5th, sometimes it's maybe about getting healthier, right? Sometimes you need to get healthier to open yourself up to playing soccer or swimming or hiking. So like it's an interesting retrograde because you will have to deal with these like practical questions around your health, around your work, around like logistics, and maybe even like rearranging your furniture, opening space to kind of have like impromptu dance parties, or addressing health issues, or even quitting a job or rethinking your work situation. You don't have to quit your job, but maybe you're thinking of working from home. Whatever it is you choose, the goal will be to find more ease and play and pleasure, and even opportunities to spend more time with children, or open space to become a parent, to, you know, get pregnant. Once again, sort of like, what health concerns do you need to address to get your body ready? Get it ready. If you're looking for additional support, once again, pick up my Mars Kazemi candle at anastasiadoesastrology.com, or book a consultation on there. I do natal, relationship, predictive readings, and we can talk about the eclipse season or anything else you need guidance on. Thank you for being here. It is a really long transit. I am a little bit nervous about it, but we're gonna navigate it together. I will be with you, holding your hand and helping you figure things out. And hopefully you will offer some of your support and subscribe and be here helping me deal with it too. I'll talk to you very soon. I hope you're enjoying your September, and yeah, see you soon. Bye.